Hello, everyone. Just to let you know, this is not coffee in this coffee mug because it is Friday night. I am going to be drinking beer this evening that was provided by one of our sponsors, Streetcar 82, which is located in Hyattsville, Maryland. They just released a new IPA called Freezin' for a Reason. Makes sense, especially with the weather here in Maryland being awfully cold. So I'm going to be enjoying this IPA while we are at our happy hour today. I wanted to take an opportunity to talk a little bit more about Core That and the event Soulfest that's happening right now. If you don't know what either of those are, never fear. I am here to give that explanation for you. So, Soulfest 2021. I know that we just finished that year and we're moving on to 2022, but we decided to extend our event to January because we felt like people were still trying to get outdoors as much as possible, and we wanted to extend the opportunity for folks to get outdoors just a little bit more. We created Soulfest back in 2016, and Core That was established in 2016 as well. We felt that Emma, the co-founder, and myself felt like there was not enough accessible information for outdoors, outdoor education, and recreational activities to outdoor spaces. We felt like there was not enough information there, especially in American Sign Language. And Emma also felt that there was not a lot of attention or familiarity on how to work with deaf folks who are enjoying the outdoors already. So we decided to set up Core That together. The reason we chose Core is because it is defined as a group of persons acting together or a body of people who are engaging in a common interest or activity. And that is an expression in American Sign Language, meaning you've hit the nail on the head and that you're on the same page. So that's how we decided on the name Core That. But moving on to Soulfest and this activity in particular, it started about 4 years ago. I know that COVID has kind of caused us to lose track of time. So it's about 4 years ago, give or take. And we decided to host this fundraiser. Since Core That is a nonprofit organization, we wanted to have an opportunity for us to also give back to the community through our education. So Soulfest is a fundraiser to assist us in that endeavor. So Streetcar 82, who I just mentioned with the new released IPA, it is a deaf-owned brewery. And they hosted small community events, which was perfect for us around the solstice, which is the darkest time of the year, before daylight starts to increase in hours of the day. So we got a group together during the solstice to get together, eat, and join in community. And folks said that they wanted to engage in these activities more often. So we got together in the next year's solstice. And of course, the year after with COVID, we realized that we weren't able to gather safely. And it's hard to have conversations in American Sign Language when half of your grammar is missing because of the masks. So we decided to have a hike-a-thon in order for everyone to engage in the outdoors and have the opportunity to raise funds for their community and get support from their friends and family as they engage in outdoor activities and raise funds for Core That. It was a very successful event. And in 2021, we decided to host a second hike-a-thon, but change it to a trail-a-thon because we felt that we didn't want folks to think that they were only able to hike in order to participate in Soulfest. If we were in explaining things in American Sign Language, we would use this generic sign, which would mean trail or even to hike. And the means of which you can take that trail would be up to you. There are folks who bike, folks who hike, folks who maybe canoe. So it's more of an undefined path. And so we decided on the Trail-a-thon for Soulfest 2021's theme. The funds that are raised from this event are going to support the Deaf Conservation Corps crew. There are a variety of conservation corps around the United States who are generally hearing folks with some deaf folks that are members. But those who are running those organizations are typically hearing organizations that don't often have familiarity with deaf culture, deaf needs, deaf accessibility, and the like. So we realized this was an opportunity for ourselves as alumnus, Emma and myself, and other Core That team members who are also alumnus, realized that this was our chance. So Core That decided to create our own conservative core crew that were able to engage in conservatorship with American Sign Language as the primary mode of communication. So they were able to get outdoors, use American Sign Language, and engage in conservation together. They repaired trails if there were downed trees so that others were able to hike safely. In an effort to continue to preserve our Mother Earth. Soulfest 2021 had members from all over the United States participate. So I've got some statistics to share with you. So for Soulfest 2021, of those members who were engaged in this fundraising effort, were able to document 189 hours and 456 miles. There are some who maybe didn't engage in outdoor activities, but decided to engage with the community in other ways, maybe by posting memes and puns in order to get community engagement and fundraising. So those hours were also documented in those 189 hours. We've raised so far $11,686, and that amount continues to grow, but our goal is to reach 20,000. Again, those funds will go to the Conservation Corps team, which we'll be talking about later on in this happy hour. There were 34 participants engaged in this fundraising effort, which is a fairly large number if you think back to our first Soulfest, where there was a much smaller crew and the donations were much smaller in size. So now that we have grown, the amount has also grown exponentially. And it's great to see support for Core That continue to grow through Soulfest activities. Participants have come from California, Washington, Maine, California, Maryland, Texas, Hawaii, South Dakota, DC, Florida, Alaska, New York, and Pennsylvania. There were so many states this year that participated. Those that were a part of the fundraising effort will also be eligible to win a prize. Here are some of the prizes that you could win. And then I will hand it off to someone who can be our Vanna White of these items. Not sure if you're familiar with Vanna White. If not, please Google her. Here's a visual representation of all the information I just shared. So for those prizes, I will be passing the baton to my Core That team. Hello, everyone. All right. So we have a lot of very cool prizes to offer our participants. But first, we want to thank everyone who's been involved in Soulfest with Core That for 2021. Here are some of the prizes that you'd be able to win. If you registered with Soulfest and were able to raise $50, we have a Soulfest sweatshirt for you. It is designed by Anna Larza, who will also be, or Anna Lynch, who will also be speaking with everyone today. And we also have a hoodie option, which is awesome. I really love hoodies, but just brag about that for a second. Right. We also have gear that was donated by our sponsor, Arc'teryx, who has a location in DC. So we've got some really cool Arc'teryx swag. We have a water pack. It's about, I think, $100 retail price. So this is a pretty great gift. So if you're biking, hiking, kayaking, or just getting outdoors, trying to get those record miles, you can have this backpack complete with a water camelback of sorts and be able to continue on your hike. We also have a junk bag or a swag bag so that you're able to put all of your additional hiking items. And we also have this really cool mug. Can I also talk about the beer? Can I put my beer in it? Absolutely. It is either hot or cold temperature drink friendly. Oh, right. I forgot about those tea drinkers. We don't want to forget those folks. Right. Those who have been able to raise about $100, $200, or even $500 or more, there are different levels and different prizes associated with all of those levels. You're also able to win this great mug with the Soulfest logo. This is from last year, so there will be a new logo for this year. We also have some gear, hats that have been knitted by deaf artists. Unfortunately, I don't have an example with me, but you should be able to look at their website. We'll be posting that in the chat for you to peruse on your own time. So we have a deaf knitter that's been donating hats that also has our Soulfest logo on it. The person who has raised the most funds from Soulfest will be winning another backpack with the water camelback attachment and a tent. Again, that's if you have raised the most amount of money of all the participants. And the tents themselves are a smaller size, good for backpacking. Oh, I also don't want to forget they are sponsored by the Giving Cypress. If you have record number of miles or have the record number of hours spent outdoors, you will be winning a free one-on-one session about forest bathing. It's a really great way to connect with nature, and they will be leading that experience with you. We've got a lot of great gifts this year. That's awesome. I hope you're all able to raise a ton of money for this effort to get those prizes. And don't forget, it's not too late. The Soulfest will end on January 17th. So it's not too late to continue to join Soulfest before we wrap for 2021. Thanks so much, Emma, for your help and being our Vanna White today. All right. So now you know my secret. I have changed my background with the PowerPoint. It's really great if you are an educator and you're thinking about how to make your content more accessible or how to be more creative in a virtual environment. Here's a great example. All right. So Emma just explained all of the great prizes that you can win by participating in Soulfest, and I'm just blown away. is just really exciting. The prizes that we have to give away are just amazing. I mean, who doesn't love prizes? So I want to talk a little bit about the Core That 2021 Summer Conservation Core. And if you're interested in joining, please let us know. Of course, I don't want to be the only person that's explaining some of these programs. So I'll be passing it off to other folks who will be able to talk about their own experience instead of me just taking the floor. We have different conservations that we work with throughout the US. We have one that's located in Texas, another located in Southeast, the Southeast Conservation Corps. We also have the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps, along with our Corps in Baltimore. So if you are interested in getting involved, you'll be learning more about education, being outdoors, and outdoor skills. Just waiting for another person to join so that we can move on to this section and they can talk more about their own experience. Oh, all right. I must have jumped a little bit in our program. So let me talk a little bit more about the conservation program. The funds raised from Soulfest 2020 allowed us to hire 7 crew leaders that are deaf, hard of hearing, or children of deaf adults. And we also were able to hire 24 crew members in addition to supporting the other conservation corps throughout the US that we partner with. So the money we raised was able to support 24 crew members in their endeavors. We were able to assist with 22,481 feet of trail maintenance. There were a couple different trails that we worked on, but it was a grand total of 22,481 feet total. We also were able to improve 13 acres of land. We removed all invasive plants from those 13 acres. And now I will, after this slide, be passing it off to the other 2 folks to talk more about that project. They also maintained 460 trees, restored 1,320 feet of shoreline where the beach is, where the land and water come together. They also contributed 80 hours of education and environmental leadership and job readiness skills. And we were able to hire 1 deaf outdoor educator who led that crew in a total of 35 hours of recreation that included mountain biking, backpacking, and canoeing. So now I will pass the baton to these 2 other speakers who will be talking about their experience from being a part of the Conservation Corps. I'll stop sharing my screen so you're able to see both of these speakers. Okay, there we are. Hello, Anna and Mara. Nice to see you both again. Thank you for joining. I'd like to hear a little bit more about your experience, but before we do that, please introduce yourself, your name, your assigned name, and your favorite memory, what you learned from your experience, and anything else you'd like to add. Who would like to go first? Mara, Anna, any preference? Sure, I'll go. My name is Mara Land. I'm from South Dakota. I forgot what I was supposed to say. Your role in the Conservation Corps. Sure, I was a Conservation Corps member. Oh, right. And my best memory was to work in the community garden. It was just great to see the growth over time. And I also learned a lot more about composting, which I didn't know before. I think that was my favorite memory. And just to clarify, you said goats, right? Oh, yeah, I loved the goats. Oh, that's great. Did you get to engage? How did you engage with the goats? And where did goats come in with that? So the goats were there because the community garden was located on a farm. It was owned by folks who run that garden. And so we were able to also assist with feeding the livestock and animals that were on the property. Yes, I love goats. I love the way that they chew. And I also know that they help with the compost because they eat the grass and they also assist with the area around the compost to help cut down on bugs that are able to hide in the grass. So it's a really great mutual benefit by having goats on the farm. All right, I'll pass it off to you, Anna. Hello, my name is Anna Lynch. I was born in Russia, but grew up in Virginia. I was a member of the Conservation Corps, and my favorite memory is so hard. I can't believe I have to pick just one, but the one that comes to mind is going to the old cabin where we were able to have a fire, prep our food, and we were able to gather around it for the night. I remember one of the members was struggling to get the fire started and felt like they didn't need support with a lighter. They wanted to be able to use friction in order to make the fire happen. And after they had talked about it, there was a little spark and then a flame happened. And it was just so cool to see them do it without the assistance of a lighter or a match. You said that there's about 7 different states that are represented in the Conservation Corps. So I'm just wondering how you were able to build relationships with folks. Did you know them prior to joining the Corps? What was the dynamic? What was the energy like being a member of the Conservation Corps last year? This is Mara. I think we all just clicked right away. We all got along really well. I'd never met any of them prior, so they were all new faces, but I feel like we were able to connect in a really strong way and very quickly. That led to a really smooth and efficient summer experience. It was interesting to learn about everyone's backgrounds and experiences in their respective states. And we were able to use that to not only bond, but also provide effective and efficient outdoor conservation. It was definitely high energy, and I appreciated that. Anna, would you like to add anything? Well, really, I have to thank Sachiko because she was really able to work on getting a really solid crew picked for that year. The people who were chosen were just really open, and we all embraced everyone's differences and learned how to work together despite the varying skills that we all brought to the table. We were able to cook our own food, and we were able to see everyone's preferences as we were working together. So it was really great. I really appreciated that time together, especially the moments where we cooked our own food and we were able to share it with each other. Oh, right. Anna, you mentioning that reminded me of that experience where we were all cooking together and everyone was able to share all of their food. Gracie, another member, before she was able to arrive, we had prepped all of this food. And of course, that day, there were a lot of hiccups. There were a lot of things that were going awry. Some core members had overpacked, heaven forbid, and others were trying to backpack, but there was just way too much gear. We were trying to figure out how to make that work. And we only had an SUV, so we had to pack it as efficiently as we could. We tried to do Tetris as best as we could with all of this gear, and we were just struggling so much to get this van packed. Do you remember that, Mara? Oh, yes, I remember there was not a lot of space in that SUV. Right, we had to really think creatively. So Mara, do you remember like how we got around that? Yeah, I remember we decided to buy an attachment for the SUV. We decided to buy something, a roof rack, so that we could fit everything that we needed to on the SUV and we could get where we needed to go. This is Sachiko. That's right. I remember I was the driver and I was so worried that we bought this off-brand bag and I wasn't sure how safe it would be as we were driving around. I asked if they had a roof rack bag that we could use for the car, and we finally got it all loaded and up on the roof. But I was so concerned that it may have fallen off while we were driving. So I kept asking Mara and other folks in the van to see if they could keep looking up and make sure that it was still there as we were going. I remember it was nerve wracking. I don't remember how long that drive was. It was like 4 hours or something. And I asked them to look about every 30 minutes to make sure that we had everything. And then once we arrived, it was just this big sigh of relief. We all made it, the bag made it. And I feel like after that, we were just thick as thieves. If I can add, this is Anna. I feel like the bag became such an asset over time because we used it so much. After the third week, the bag was totally spent because we had just used it and used it so much that it was almost threadbare by the time we were ready to head back. And we also realized that we should just keep that idea for the next year too. We realized if we put a bag on top of the car, we should just keep it there, because if we kept taking it on and off the roof, it caused it to wear out much quicker. But all of our hard work, I feel like making that bag happen definitely brought us together. Mara, yeah, this is definitely a lesson learned. Sachiko speaking. Can you tell me a little bit more about the skills that you acquired or what you learned about conservation through this experience, and how often you have the opportunity to actually go out and use the skills that you learned from the conservation experience? Or give me an example of conservation that you see every day. Mara, Anna, any preference? Sure, this is Mara. So an example of conservation was when we were working on the trails. We wanted to make sure that they were accessible because there were some trails that maybe had eroded or had some trees that had downed on the trail, others that may have washed out. And so we were able to also identify any invasive species that were near the trail and make sure that it didn't take over that particular area. Yeah, this is Anna. If I could add, we also moved trees and relocated them if they happened to have fallen on a trail. There were specific trees that we saw that were actually invasive. And so we worked to, I don't remember witch hazel. And there was one other plant that we had to try to downsize because there was just so much growth. And I think the particular berry that was invasive to that area was the hardest to get rid of. So the trail maintenance was definitely something that was helpful to learn and helped me see just how much effort goes into conservation. We also worked to flatten some trails that had suddenly gotten an incline over the years due to erosion. And so I feel like that project, just because of how intensive it was definitely rewarding. For trail maintenance, I also was able to see how it impacted our other work. So we were able to understand more of the ecology of the area. So if there was an invasive plant, we had to make sure that we were able to leave the existing plant life as much as we could. And we learned about what type of animals and what type of animal life would gather once we got rid of those invasive species because they were finally able to access the food that they needed. Sachiko speaking. Wow, that was great. Thank you for those examples. Anything else you'd like to add before we move on to another topic? This is Mara. Yeah, it was just an amazing experience. It was very positive. Yes, thank you so much. It was really great to be a part of this today. Thank you. Of course, no problem. All right. Now let me find my place again in my notes. All right, so you just met two members, Anna and Mara, talking about their experience from the Core That crew. There are other members from 4 other core organizations that we partner with. There's the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps, and we had 33 members in Virginia. They worked for 3 weeks in Southern Virginia at George Washington and the Jefferson National Forests. They also spent 1 week in Baltimore working with the Anacostia Watershed Society. So we partnered with that organization. We also partnered with a few others to assist with their current projects. We assisted with the Baltimore Compost Collective, which was the farm that Mara referenced, and those goats. You should be able to see some of those pictures on our website if you're curious. We also assisted with the Blue Water Baltimore project. Here are some of the pictures from that experience. You see us all kind of sweaty. The first picture is us in our jackets after a hard day's work. You can just see how hardworking we were. We were also soaked to the bone, and we had all of our tools with us. You can see the pickaxe that we used for our tools. And we had a variety of other tools that we used for all the projects. The last picture you see is the one that Anna mentioned, where everyone had brought food and we did a potluck style. So all around, it was a fascinating experience. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about our outdoor education. We do provide outdoor education for organizations that hire deaf members. And we also have excursions where we will bring folks to the backcountry. We'll set up our tents and talk through that process. We will also learn about other recreational activities that you can do in the outdoors and have that direct access in American Sign Language. Core That, over the course of 2021, provided 6 webinars. And we had over 200 participants in those 6 activities. We also hosted 9 classes and workshops with over 100 participants and involved about 45 hours or so of different skills. We also reached out to 2 other students from this outdoor education experience to see if they could talk about their own perspectives of going through those classes and workshops, if they felt alone in that experience, or if there were any positive things that they learned and experienced while participating in these workshops. All right. Hello, you two. Hello, Lee. Hello, Rupert. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you could briefly introduce yourself, your name, sign name if you have one, where you're from, and one of your most memorable moments from the class or what you learned from it. Lee? Sure, I'll go first. My name is Lee Cook, and I joined Core That about 2 years ago. I've been mostly taking courses like backpacking, Leave No Trace, or LNT, and camping workshops. I also was involved in a meal prep workshop, and it helped me a lot because at that time I was just starting to collect equipment for backpacking and hiking. So it was really helpful for me to get gear that was focused on backpacking. I haven't had the opportunity to go backpacking yet because I'm still making sure that I'm ready before I head out on the trail. And I know that it's going to be an overnight endeavor, and I want to make sure that I am thoroughly practiced and I am used to hiking with my backpack on. I haven't had that opportunity to break it in yet. I did hike about 6 miles, which I was shocked by because I had been fortunate to attend these workshops to buy great shoes, great socks, and everything I needed to do that hike. But afterwards, I did get some blisters on my feet, which I was surprised by. I didn't expect it with such great gear. But when I found out I had blisters, I realized that there was still something missing. I didn't have medical equipment with me in order to fix it. So I wish that I had taken some more time to think about that. But I do feel like these classes help me so much in terms of preparing to be able to get ready for the experiences I wanted to engage in, to make sure I had the appropriate water filter, to make sure that my gear was right. I had specific clothing to match the environment I was about to be in, and it was very helpful for me. If I had the opportunity to join another workshop next year, I would encourage not just myself, but other friends and family to do it too. And it gave a great opportunity to engage with deaf folks around the US. This is Sachiko. Thank you so much for that, Lee. Rupert. Yes, my name is Rupert Doobler. And same as Lee, I joined Core That about 2 years ago through Zoom during COVID. And it was really great to be a part of it. I was living in Massachusetts at the time, and now I'm in Maryland. And now that I'm here, I'm wondering where my colleagues are that are enjoying the outdoors. I'm looking for that network, and it was feeling a little lonely. So when Core That came to be, I was so excited to sign up for a backpacking course with Sam Bragg. I feel like Sam and I know each other very well by this point because every workshop I sign up for, she happens to be teaching. I also attend the Trail Talks, which are a great opportunity to learn informally every month about a different outdoor activity. And it's been given me a great opportunity to meet other folks from around the country who also engage in outdoors. And so it was a really great open opportunity, and they often will host panels. So it's great to learn from those folks as well. I also took the backpacking course with Lee, the beginner and the advanced course. So I was in the backcountry in Alaska for about a month, but all of those memories, since I wasn't using it, I started to lose them. So I didn't realize how many gaps I had until I engaged in those courses. So I was able to start to slowly fill in those gaps that I had lost over time. And that was great. There was another course that I really loved, which was Ecotherapy. We had a long talk about the environment and how it can provide healing for us on our own personal journeys and how we can get that through nature. It was really great. I think that was probably my favorite course that I've taken so far. I also realized I could use some assistance with navigation, with reading topographical maps. And by taking a course directly in ASL, I was finally able to understand how to read them more effectively than when I tried to take those courses before from hearing conservation cores. So there wasn't a lot of resources available. And there were some folks who would provide interpreters, which was good, but the experience is always varied when it comes to hiring interpreters. So I feel like being able to participate in Core That and get direct communication on backpacking and outdoor experiences has been great. This is Sachiko speaking, right? I noticed when we started to get the word out about these virtual workshops that we were going to be hosting, that folks from the beginning to the end of the courses started to get more confident, or would have a lot of recollection on their past experiences in order to fill those gaps, like you said, Rupert. Or there were some things that they may have understood but were a little confusing before, but being able to have these workshops in American Sign Language really helped to fill in those gaps and to clarify things. And just like Lee said, these classes are also supposed to aid in preparation for going on those outdoor excursions. There's not a lot of talk about how to break in your boots effectively, or realizing how much time might go into breaking in a particular shoe. And if you get blisters, how to take care of those. I remember myself when I was just getting started, I went to Glacier National Park, and the friend that invited me said, you know, you should be good. Don't worry about breaking in your boots. Or my friend said that they got new boots and was going to use it as an opportunity to break them in. And I said, oh, maybe not the best idea. But she was stubborn and decided she was going to do it anyway. And we hiked about 40 miles. And I can only imagine the blisters and the pain, like you mentioned, Lee, on those 6 miles. Imagine 40 miles. I have never seen such big blisters in my entire life. The blisters were so big, it almost covered the entire back of the heel of her foot. It was just massive. So that was definitely a hard lesson learned for my friend. And I wonder if they had taken a core that workshop, would they have made that same mistake? So your story, Lee, definitely reminded me of my friend's experience. And I'm glad that you took a workshop and didn't have the same fate. If you are curious about future workshops that we're hosting, take a look at Instagram, Facebook, and also our website. We frequently host, we have a calendar where you'll be able to see into 2022 of which workshops we're going to be hosting, and you can reserve your spot on our website, just to give you an opportunity to join Core That and learn some great outdoor skills. Thank you so much, Lee and Rupert, for sharing your experiences today. Is there anything, any last words before we end this particular section? Yeah, this is Lee. I live in Texas, so it's definitely hot, but I love it. But I do realize I really need to prepare before I step outdoors. This is Rupert. Yes, I also want to recognize that Core That is not just deaf focused, but it's also focused on increasing diversity within the deaf community and trying to meet people where they are, even if they're remote, which I really appreciate. So the folks that have gone through some of these workshops before us attended the talk sessions. And so we were able to celebrate the accomplishments and the diversity within the deaf community together. And it was so great to see the experiences that people have shared. And I feel like that positive experience has just been radiating through the community. So I just really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of Core That and to continue our relationship. This is Lee. Yeah, I feel like my relationship with Core That also reminds me how much I wish this would have been around when I was young. So I've been trying to encourage my students to get involved with Core That so they're able to experience the outdoors. And so I really recommend folks, if you're curious, please take a look at the website. And I wish that I could have had this opportunity when I was younger. This is Sachiko. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I also recognize it's hard to be in a virtual format, especially the second year now. We may be getting some screen fatigue. So we are hosting some workshops around the Maryland, the DMV area in the hopes that we can give people a little break from the screens, while also trying to do small group excursions. So if you wanted to have the opportunity to do something in person, you can try to sign up for one of those slots. So please keep an eye out for the calendar. I know that being virtual can be daunting and tiring, so please just be on the lookout for that. We're trying to get more in-person workshops and experiences as soon as we can. Thank you so much, Lee and Rupert. Thank you for joining me today. All right. I know you're probably like, all right, enough already. But I just want to finish the last part of our happy hour today. And then we will give you back the rest of your evening. Yes. So we do provide ASL courses as well. We've had 11 courses provided so far at varying levels. So far, we've offered ASL 1, 2, and we just piloted ASL 3. So we're just getting a sense of how that's going so far, and we'll see if it becomes a permanent part of our repertoire. If you're wondering who's signing up for these courses, we've had folks from age 20 to 70 take these ASL classes. Core that was starting to see a lot of solidarity with the deaf community and getting outdoors, but the deaf community was really struggling with figuring out how to maintain connection with the deaf community and be able to bridge the gap between the deaf community and hearing worlds out in nature. So we decided to start providing ASL classes. And there are some deaf and hard of hearing folks who are just acquiring American Sign Language who were also members of these courses. So it doesn't matter if you are well-versed in American Sign Language or if you are just starting to learn the language, everyone is welcome to be a part of these courses. We don't want deaf folks to have to resort to using pen and paper in order to communicate with national park staff. We want to be able to have direct communication as much as possible and as many forests as possible. And again, just to get that direct communication, if someone's trying to reserve a campsite or trying to arrive at their campsite, it's really important that we're able to get information as clear and as quickly as possible, especially if it involves wildlife, in order to ensure our safety. There are some protocols for certain animals that must be followed. And so this vital information given in American Sign Language is much more effective than if we arrive at the campsite, have not been able to check in directly with a ranger, and suddenly there's a bear eating our food, for example. Having that direct communication can alleviate a lot of these issues and also be a benefit to safety. We don't want someone to have an inequivalent experience to our hearing peers, especially when we're in outdoor environments that could compromise our own safety. So again, keep an eye on Instagram, Facebook, and our website for different ASL classes that will be offered. And now I want to pay a particular attention to and give special thanks to the sponsors for tonight's happy hour. Make sure I get out of the way enough to be able to see the logo. You can't really see it right now because of the background that I'm sharing, but it's pretty cool. And that was designed by Whiskey Whiskers. It is a mandala with inside the mandala having the logo Soulfest 2021. There's a lot of references to outdoors in the mandala and in our sponsors. We also have Streetcar 82 as a sponsor of the event today. Here is a shameless plug with growlers available as well, or crowlers, which is a can that you can continue to take back and get filled for yourself. We also have Trailblazing Interpreters, which is an agency that was just established with the goal of providing interpreters for outdoor spaces, excursions, and experiences. with interpreters who are familiar with being outdoors. We don't want an inexperienced interpreter in those spaces. We want to make sure that they are familiar with outdoor terminology and safety protocol. So Trailblazing Interpreters is focused on providing those equivalent and qualified interpreters. We also want to thank the Giving Cypress, who has been supporting and donating items for our fundraiser this year. And also to Arc'teryx, who's also been providing swag for our fundraising efforts. We want to thank them especially for their efforts and their support in creating accessible spaces. This is the logo, the image that I was talking about of Soulfest 2021 that was designed by Whiskey Whiskers. So that is all, folks. We have officially wrapped our happy hour geared towards Soulfest. And again, Soulfest would not happen without you. It's important to continue to keep up donations, and you are able to donate. Like we had mentioned in the beginning, it goes toward outdoor education and supporting Core That's mission of creating diverse spaces in outdoors and providing education in American Sign Language. You may be wondering where you can donate, and you can look at our website. If you see Soulfest and its tab on our webpage, it will navigate you to the donate button. If you look in the chat, you're also able to see a link which will take you directly to our donate page. And also it's important to remember that Soulfest's last day is Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It also happens to be National Service Day this year. So we will be wrapping on January 17th. And I know we talked about being almost at our $12,000 range, and our goal is 20,000. We are so close to 12,000. We're just shy of it. If my math is right, we're just shy $320-ish. So if you can make it to the page and help us get to 12,000 by tomorrow, I challenge you to make that happen. Oh, also, if you have enjoyed the happy hour today, you've been sitting back with your popcorn or your beer, and you would like to see us again, on Monday, we will be having National Service Day, and we're having an AmeriCorps panel of all deaf members who've been involved in AmeriCorps past and present, and they'll be talking about their experience. You may be wondering what AmeriCorps is. Not many people are familiar with it. If you're not sure, please join us on Monday to learn more about it. It will be happening Monday, January 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You are able to register via our website, and you can find it in the link in the chat below. Please take the opportunity to register. We'll also have interpreters there. If you are not fluent in American Sign Language, do not worry, we've got you. We will have interpreters providing English interpretation. And I think that's all. Please don't forget to donate and support Core That. And thank you for your support thus far and supporting the mission of Core That by providing accessible spaces outdoors. Oh, I was actually just told we just got more donations. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I'm not just talking into the void. We are so close to 12,000. We will make it. Thank you all who have donated. Cheers to you and thank you. I look forward to your future donation and to see you on Monday. Thank you. Have a great night and happy Friday and happy Soulfest.